On Friday, we talked about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and multiplying by a scalar for matrices. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about multiplying matrices. Now this is totally different than what you would expect. Now when we added or subtracted matrices, what did we need to check and what did we need to make sure of the matrices in order to see if we could add them together?
And they were the same.
They were the same
Dimensions.
Okay, now with multiplying matrices, they don't have to be the same dimensions. They've actually got to be something a little different. And so if you notice here, I have matrix A. I'm not going to show you what matrix A is. It's just a matrix. And its dimensions are m by n. I've got matrix B. Its dimensions are n by p. In order for you to multiply two matrices together, these middle dimensions have to be the same. That's why they're in blue. If they are not the same, you can't multiply them, and you would write not defined. Now, the remaining matrix that you get when you multiply them together will be the remaining dimensions. And so what are the remaining dimensions going to be? From looking at this one.
M times P?
M times, close, what? P, right. And so that's going to be your remaining matrix. So example, if I had a 2 by 3, somebody give me a matrix that I could multiply it by.
3 by 4.
3 by 4, good. And what would the answer matrix be in the form of?
2 by 4.
2 by 4. So basically what ends up happening is you just get rid of these middle terms.
They like cancel out.
Yep, they like cancel out. And so now I've got a question for you. Is that matrix product defined? Yes or no? And I want you to go ahead and tell me, is that matrix product defined? Yes or no? Good, yes. Now, in what we just went over, what would the remaining dimensions be? 3 by 2. Good. Okay, is that one defined? Yes or no? Yes or no, is it defined? No, the reason why it is not defined, let's go and look. The reason why it is not defined is because your middle dimensions here are not the same.
Shoot.
Okay. All right, let's try again. Is that one defined? Yes or no?
There may be button.
No, good job. Because, once again, the middle terms here are not the same. And what about the last one? Is that one defined? Yes or no? Yes, good. And what would the remaining matrix be? 4 by 2. Very nice, because the 6's cancel out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually look at how you multiply two matrices together. Now, be ready. If you have multiple colored pens, that might help. Because what this is going to do is, if you have the multiple colored pens, it's going to kind of show you how things match up. So very first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can even do any work at all. So I need to write the dimensions of each one. So what are the dimensions of x?
2 by
2 by 2. What are the dimensions of y?
2 by 2.
2 by 2. Now this problem wants me to find x times y. Now it's really important, the order. X times y is not the same as y times x. So x times y, I'm going to compare my middles. They match. So can I multiply these together?
Yes.
Yes, and my remaining answer will be a 2 by 2. Good. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through the steps of multiplying. So we're going to start. This is how you're going to start. You are going to start with row 1 in matrix 1.
You're saying-
And you're going to take that times column 1.
So-
Row 1 times column 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the 6 times negative 5. So I'm going to take the 6 times negative 5. I'm going to add that to negative 3 times 3. Now if you're wondering how I did that, I took the first times the first plus the second times the second. So the first times the first plus the second times the second. So now look at the location where it's at. It's in row 1, column 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do row 1, but I'm going to do column 2. So I'm going to take first times first. So in this case, I'm going to take 6 times negative 4. I'm going to add that to second times second, which is negative 3 times 7. So there I've got 2 parts. Now what I'm going to do, can somebody guess where I'm going to go next? Row 2, good, exactly, perfect. Row 2, column 1. So row 2, column 1, I'm going to now put that in row 2 of my answer. So I'm going to take negative 10 times negative 5. And I'm going to add that to
Negative 10 times
negative
3.
what?
2 times
2 times 3. First times first plus second times second. Now what I'm going to do is take row 2 times what?
Column 2.
Column 2. So I'm going to take negative 10 times negative 4, good, plus negative 2 times 7, good. So let's go ahead and put those in. And so I end up getting, if you add those, negative 30 plus negative 9, which is?
Negative 39.
I'm going to get negative 24 plus negative 21, which is?
Negative
45. On the bottom, I'm going to get 50 plus negative 6. 44, good. And then here I'm going to get 40 plus negative 14. And I get 26, good. I'm going to go ahead and let you finish writing that down, then we're going to continue with the next one.
Is that your answer?
Yes, that is your final answer. Okay, so once again, that is going to be your final answer.
I have to write those 2 paragraphs.
So let's go ahead and look at another one. U times V. U times V. So very first, we're going to write down the problem. Now what you guys actually could do, you might have to write U equals V equals. Okay. You could just have 5, 9, negative 3, negative 2 times 2, negative 1, 6, 5. Because on your homework, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see something like this. 5, 9, negative 3, negative 2 times 2, negative 1, 6, 5. And they're going to put that. That's how they're going to write it. Okay. Very first thing, what do we always have to do first? Check the dimensions. Good. Okay, and so what are the dimensions of the first one going to be? 2 by 2. What about the second one? 2 by 2. So yes, in fact, we can multiply it, and our answer will be 2 by 2. Good. All right, so let's start. What do we do?
5 times 2.
Yep. Yep. So row 1 times column 1. So 5 times 2 plus
9 times 6.
9 times 6. So next I'm going to do
Column.
row 1 times column 2. So that one I'm going to have 5 times
-1.
plus
9 times 5.
9 times 5. Good. What do we do next?
Row 2,
column
Yep.
column 1.
Okay, so -3 times
2.
plus
2 times 6.
and then last but not least,
Row 2, column
and I get -3 times,
2. -1.
yep, plus,
-2 times 5.
Wait,
what's wrong?
why isn't it -3 times 6?
You do the second.
You do first times first plus second times second. So last but not least, all we need to do is calculate what in fact those are. So you're going to have 10 plus 54, which is 64. Good. For my next one, I'm going to have
40.
-5 plus 45. Good. So the answer will be 40. From the bottom one, I'm going to get -6 plus -12, which is, and from this one, I'm going to get 3 plus -10, which is -7. There you go. Questions? Okay, we're going to spend for sure tomorrow on multiply matrices as well. Okay, what I'm going to do last but not least is we're going to do one of these. And then we're going to call it good for today. So this is going to be the last one we're going to look at. We're going to probably spend for sure tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, on this. So the very first thing we need to do
Is that not?
is check dimensions. So what are the dimensions?
3 by 3, 3 by 2.
A 2 by 3 and a
3 by 2.
3 by 2. So can I multiply those? Yeah, and what's my answer going to be?
2 by 2.
A 2 by 2. And that's what's really weird because I know some people think a 2 by 2, how do you get a 2 by 2 from there? You'll see. So, like I said, I'll go ahead and let you get those down. And then we'll go through and work this. So, as we did in the problems before, we always started where?
Row 1.
Row 1. So that's where I'm going to start. Row 1. And the problem I did before, where would I multiply that by? Column 1. So you're going to do the same thing here, but instead of having 2 terms, you've got 3. So I'm going to take first times first, plus second times second, plus third times third. So first times first, 1 times 2, plus second times second, 3 times -2, plus third times third, -5 times 1. Good. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to do row 1 times column 2. First times first will be 1 times 3 plus 3 times -8 plus -5 times 7. Good. Now we're going to do row 2, column what? 1. So I'm going to take 4 times 2 plus
Negative 2 times negative 2.
-2 plus 0 times 1. Good. Now, one of the things you're going to notice, the numbers in the parentheses match up in the first column here. Okay, 2, 2, negative 2, 2, and 1, 1. All right, very last one we're going to do, row 2, column 2. So I'm going to take
4 times 3.
4 times 3 plus
Negative 2 times negative 8.
negative 2 times negative 8 plus
0 times 7.
0 times 7. Good. And so that's how we're going to get a 2 by 2. Okay, we're going to have a lot more work, though, to get there because now we're going to be adding 3 numbers together. So I'm going to have 2 plus negative 6 plus negative 5. What do you get?
9.
Negative 9.
No.
Yep.
Wait. Yeah.
3, negative 24, and negative 35. Negative 56. Good. On the bottom, 8 plus 4 plus 0, which is 12. You're going to like the zeros because they automatically eliminate a lot of stuff like they do here. So then you get 12 plus 16, which is 28. Good. And there you go. There's your answer. So that's what a 2 by 3 times a 3 by 2 looks like. As I said, if things aren't clicking right now, that's okay. We're going to spend the next day or two working on these. If you want to get started on your assignment, okay, this is what it's going to look like. Now, if you go to page 184, before you pass out at this, let's look at page 154. First of all, the first 6 are just like the problems we did with the expressions. The first 6 are just like the problems we did with the expressions.
So they're yes or no.
Yes, they're yes or no.
Oh, I like
Okay? Yeah, and so we did those. The next ones, they are very short. There are only, there's only 1 or 2 that maybe would take the time like our very last one took. Okay? Now, don't worry about 30 through 34 yet. We'll continue with this tomorrow. Okay, so good thing for you to do, get a good healthy start, come with some questions tomorrow, and like I said, we'll continue with this tomorrow.